For level 3, we're now going to have the opportunity to have our last number be negative as well. First check, can I take something out of all 3 pieces? And I can't. So A becomes 1, B becomes negative 7, and C will be negative 18. A times C gives me negative 18. That means that negative 18 will be on the top of our x, and on the bottom of our x, we'll have our b value, which is negative 7. The factors are 1 and 18. Notice that I'm not dealing with the negative yet. That's why we have a factoring flowchart. 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. We'll take a look at our factoring flowchart here. The sign of our last number was negative, so we'll need 1 of each sign. The sign of our middle number, or the bottom number, was negative as well, so we will want to make our larger factor negative. Now, since we wrote our factors in order, the ones on the right-hand side over here are all going to be our larger factor. So when I look to add these two together, the ones that work are 2 and negative 9. So 2 times negative 9 really does equal negative 18. And 2 plus negative 9 really does equal negative 7. First term, first box. Last term, last box. And then our 2 and our negative 9 will be here with the x that they got from the middle. What can I take out of the top? X. Out of the bottom, I can take a negative 9. The left side, I can take an x. And the right side, I can take a positive 2. So my factors are x plus 2 and x minus 9. Let's take a look at number 2. Is there something that can come out of all 3 pieces? And there's not, so I don't need a GCF. A is 1, B is negative 1, C is negative 20. A times C gives me negative 20. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 3 does not work, 4 and 5 are the remaining factors. Now that A times C is my top to my X, and the bottom is my B. Using your factoring flowchart, what is the sign of our last or top number in the X? The sign is negative, so we'll need 1 of each sign. What's the sign of the middle number or the bottom of your X? It's also negative, so we'll need to make sure our larger factor is negative. So each in the second column will be negative. And the factor that adds to be negative 1 is 4 and negative 5. Quickly check. 4 times negative 5, yep, that's negative 20. 4 plus negative 5, yeah, that's negative 1. First term, first box. Last term, last box. Then we have negative 5 and our 4 with x's from the middle term. What can I take out of the top row? X. Out of the bottom row, I can take 4. The left side, x. The right side, a negative 5. So x plus 4 and x minus 5 are my solutions. Let's take a look at our last two. Is there something that can come out of all three? Nope. A times C, well, A is 1, B is 5, and C is negative 24. So A times C is negative 24, which is the top of my x. B is 5, which is the bottom of my x. Factors of 24. We don't care that it's negative yet. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Those are all the factors. Using your factoring flowchart, we can see that the last number is negative. So I'll need to have 1 plus 1 minus, and the middle number is positive. So I'll need the larger factor to be positive. So that means all of these smaller factors will be negative, and all of these larger factors will be positive. The pair that adds together to be a positive 5 would be negative 3 and 8. Negative 3 times 8 is negative 24. Negative 3 plus 8 is positive 5, so that's correct. First term, first box. Last term, last box. Our negative 3 and our 8 each get their own x in their own box. What comes out of the top row? An x. Out of the bottom row, 8. The left side, x. The right side, negative 3. So our factors are x minus 3 and x plus 8. For our last problem, we check to see is there something that can come out, and there isn't. So A is 1, B is 6, and C is negative 16. A times C is negative 16, and that's the top of my x. B is the bottom of my x. 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4 are the factors of 16. The factoring flowchart can be used to determine our signs. The sign of the top of our x, or the last number, is negative, and the sign of the middle number, or the bottom of our x, is positive. So we want our larger factor to be positive. So the smaller factor will be negative, the larger factor will be positive, and we find that negative 2 and 8 are our factors. Negative 2 times 8, negative 2 plus 8. Negative 2 times 8 is negative 16. That's what I want. Negative 2 plus 8 is positive 6. That's what I want. So we have x squared, our first term, goes in the first box. Negative 16 is our last term, so it goes in the last box. And negative 2x and 8x make up our last two boxes. The top row, I can take an x. The bottom row, I can take an 8. The left side, I can take an x. And the right side, I can take a negative 2. So x minus 2 and x plus 8 are my factors.